Feet to Fire is a production of IPS Media Works on the ONSIG Radio Network of stations. And now, live from Chicago, here is the Black Knight of Talk Radio, James Arthur Yancek.
I think John may have had an Earthpulse device. Paul Becker has been on the show before. Earthpulse biomagnetic supplementation. Boy, I'm glad I'm not in radio. Is a device. It is now up to version 4.2. I had, I guess, the original one way back when, and found that it was really amazing how it would kind of relax and put me to sleep and all that kind of stuff, and feel better. And I talked with Paul many times about it. Had him on the show. And I want to have him back because there's a new version of it out, a new push or a new wave, I guess would be a new pulsing wave coming out. I want to have Paul on to talk about it, take your questions about the device, because I've been asked a million questions. I'm glad that I have experience with both using it and having Paul to ask, because it's not like going to the top dog to get the questions answered. So Paul is coming back on here to talk about it. In fact, let's just bring him on. Paul, welcome back to Feet to the Fire.
Thanks for having me back.
Paul Becker, you're down in Florida where it is not cold like it is here.
No, we got a beautiful temperature down here, about 70 degrees.
Now, if you can get that device to create an area, a 70-degree area around you, wherever you are, excuse me, you could sell that thing for $1 million.
Talk to the harp operators.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. So, EarthPulseTechnologies.com is the newer website. It looks kind of cool. And so, how does, in a nutshell, if you can give us a 101, what is this device and how does it work?
Well, I think the easiest thing to explain it, or analogy to draw, is a metronome. The device becomes a metronome for the brainwave signals. As you slow it down, it tends to entrain the brain down toward a quieter state.
What do you mean entrain?
Well, entrainment. I guess the analogy is to ticking clocks with pendulums. As the story goes, eventually they'll entrain to each other and swing in synchronization. So your neurological system will become entrained to this signal and lock onto it and follow it up or down depending on, your application.
And entrainment means that it pulses at a certain frequency of pulses, and that your body then feels that and goes toward that and begins to pulse in its own way at that rate?
Well, according to the binaural beats community, I don't know how many of your listeners are familiar with binaural beats, but they came up with a way to use auditory signals to have the brain wave lock onto it. Most of that research was done to strengthen the alpha wave bandwidth of the brainwave, the EEG. So what I found when I first started playing around with the device was, of course, I noticed that it made me sleep. But on those nights where I just wasn't quite getting to sleep as fast as I'd like, if I reached around and dialed it down so the frequency got lower, I would immediately feel the change. And so it was always my goal to build a digital device that would automatically drop the signal pulse repetition rate and have it drop all the way down into a delta range. And I believe that we've hit the nail on the head because we've certainly improved our satisfaction rating, and I know the device works better. I don't know about you. You've had it for a week now, so, it's a little different, but I pretty much immediately liked it a lot more.
Yeah, now, we're talking of people who already know what we're doing here, and a lot of people are listening and have no clue to what this even is. We know it pulses, magnetic pulses, which your body then feels, and it entrains down to that frequency, which would be like a sleep frequency or relaxed frequency or a alert but relaxed type thing, or certain pulses, certain frequencies are also good for stimulating the body, so people have noticed they spring back from injuries more and so forth, right? So Maybe you can explain a little bit about these various frequencies.
Well, back in the 60s, combination of Eastern Europeans and Carl Bassett, they began using pulsed electromagnetic fields to heal bone. And then, of course, the infamous Robert O. Becker came along and started playing with DC currents and studying how salamanders regenerated their tails and all of this. And he focused on bone for quite some time. And so the therapeutic aspect of pulsed electromagnetic fields, or PEMF, evolved from the bone therapy stuff. And Becker really believed in DC currents and extremely low frequency, or very, very low frequency for a PEMF for bone. And then the Eastern Europeans picked up on it, and they started healing everything from optic nerve regeneration to ocular pressure issues, bone, cartilage, ligament, you name it. They were using it in the 70s, and in a very tight frequency range it seemed to work quite well. Of course, then the Western medical orthopedic companies came out with their bone stimulators, and of course, at least most of the ones through about 5 years ago, their frequencies were quite high, certainly out of the pocket, according to the Eastern European model. And then NASA in 2003 confirmed that it was, in fact, a very tight range that showed the best results, and that was right around 10 hertz. 5 hertz below it at 5 hertz, or 5 hertz above at 15 hertz, showed half the response. And that half response was double the growth of no PEMF, and then the 10 hertz worked twice as fast. So we're talking about a factor of 4, an improvement or a enhancement in the regeneration of nerve tissue.
So what we have is you have a magnetic pulse which the body likes. Actually, we should get into that next. Is a magnetic? Why does the body like a magnetic pulse?
Well, it really, it's very frequency specific. Becker was the first whistleblower on alternating 60 hertz fields, and then of course, he was also one of the first whistleblowers on cellular technology and other wireless technologies, wreaking havoc in the neurological system, because the body is the most sensitive antenna ever devised. However, there's an overlap of what a healthy EEG looks like, and that frequency range is very close to the spectrum of what's known as the Schumann waves, which circulate in the ionosphere for eons, and we evolved in them. So if you can look at the primary frequencies in the Schumann wave spectrum, the vast majority of the frequency spectrum is at the low end.
Okay, so in other words, we may have in years past, for whatever reason, been living in these pulsing magnetic waves like fish in water, and over time, for whatever reason, they have diminished or are masked or polluted?
They're being overshadowed by a lot of electromagnetic noise. So, we're sleeping in that field when it's supposed to be quiet time, and you don't have any auditory or visual stimulation, but you're still being affected somewhat by these very weak electromagnetic fields at 60 hertz, not to mention your neighbor with a wireless network is beaming through your home or apartment. So it seems like, as a species, we are sleeping a lot worse than we were 20 or 30 years ago. I just completed a study on children under 5, and they're sleeping they're less than 30% below the suggested amount of time, which is, been acceptable through 5 or 6 generations of Americans. They're waking up 50% more during the night. And, they're not dealing with stress and work and interpersonal relationships and money. So, what's the answer there? So I believe that is the test right there. Everybody is sleeping worse. I bet if they studied animals in the wild, they'd find the same thing if they were in urban areas near a lot of this high-frequency stuff.
So what we have is the device not only gives friendly pulses like the alpha, delta, theta sleep wave, so your body can feel that pulse and go, oh, yeah, that's a sleep frequency, and then go toward it and train to it. It also gets bathed in the magnetic pulsing that used to be here, as well as one of those waves or a series of those waves being similar to the frequencies that used to pulse in that wave of magnetism.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows that when you go camping, that, most people associate that with really good nights of sleep. And, yeah, part of it's share. Part of it is that you're outside the grid. And another part of it is you're sleeping on the ground, very close to it. So you're sort of you're closer to Mother Earth, and the frequencies that, or the frequency that the geomagnetic field puts out. I mean, scientifically recognized as static, but any of those of you that are familiar with Bob Beck, Robert C. Beck, that came up with the blood pulsar and that very strong pulsed electromagnetic field device, he identified a frequency that was very close to what the Russians were using back in the 70s, and he followed the Eastern European model and fiddled around with changing human psychological parameters using these PEMFs.
So
as long as you keep it in the natural frequency range, not that there aren't higher frequencies in that natural frequency range, but they drop off. The higher they get, the less amplitude there is. So as long as you stay in that low end, the body loves it. It gets stronger, it gets more stamina. There's all kinds of other effects we'll get into, I guess, after the break about what happens to the capillaries and what happens to the hemoglobin. There's all of these different things.
So it's like turning the clocks back before EMF. As I sit here surrounded by equipment, that's why I like having the device while I'm working. Is it's working on my body positively? Why these things are working negatively? But it does that pulsing. It'd be like, I guess, if you were walking on your feet and you put your feet up on a comfy pillow or something, and it feels good. Your body gets lulled and kind of hugged by this pulsing magnetic wave, not only getting the pulse, but in a language, a frequency of relaxation. Your body's like, ah.
Well, the analogy is that if you had two stereos, one at each end of the house, and you're standing in the middle and you're getting this chaos, and you move toward one and the other one disappears. It gets drowned out by the close source of the audio. So the Earthpulse creates a cocoon, if you will, of very low frequency electromagnetics that's very conducive to thought process if you're in the alert setting, or very relaxing and sleep promoting if you're in the sleep mode. And it's a close field source of its strongest source of EMF near your body, so that's what you pick up primarily. And then your body tends to not even sense the other high-frequency stuff that's coming in at you. And I'm sure, you've driven with the thing, probably logged thousands and thousands of miles with that thing running in your cab. So,
yeah, the beauty about it, and like most things that are naturally good for you, is that it's not like you plug it in and then, and then there's some kind of, you don't even you notice its effect after you don't notice the ill effects you normally had. It's like taking herbs. You don't just all of a sudden feel better, but after they work in and they do the stuff, you'll find out, wait a minute, normally I would have been stressed and tired at this point, but I'm not. And I feel alert.
You're saying like 3 or 4 hours into it, all of a sudden you realize that your shoulders aren't all tense, you're not cramping up in your hips. You get out of the cab and your lower back feels good instead of all, tweaked.
Yeah, and then when I went to lay down, sometimes when I'm stressed and wired from driving for 11 hours, that you lay down and you're stressed and you got to relax. Well, I lay down and then I switch it to sleep in the cab and boom, I'm out. And now with your new device, it actually has a cycle or what have you, so that you can set it for how long you want to sleep. it goes through its sleep cycles and then turns off, so then you can wake up in the morning.
Actually, it raises back up to the alert stage, so if you time your alarm to when the device is getting ready to shut off, you've actually entrained yourself to an alert stage. The alarm goes off, your eyes open, and you're somewhat awake. It's not like the analog device. You wake up and you just want to roll back over and stay there for several more hours.
In fact, I was telling Lucinda, who at first she wouldn't, in the original device, she didn't want nothing to do with it. And I used it, and I liked it. And then she had a migraine one time, and she said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And so I did what you told me, how you move it from left to right and so forth, put it on different parts of the brain for 10 minutes or whatever. And within several minutes, she was out like a light, and in 20 minutes, she woke up and was startled because the headache was gone. And she looked at me like, it's gone. I go, well, that's because it really works. It's not, it's not like a fake thing, or it's not a harmful thing. It's a cool thing.
Yeah, it's certainly one of the most understated technologies out there. I mean, not just my device, but the work that's being done in PEMF in general is so far-reaching, from so many different types of physiological ailments like fibromyalgia to migraine headaches to lower back pain, and there's even some great stuff that I actually tried to find tonight, and I was having some difficulty. So I know it exists because I know I read it, but spinal cord injury, where they transected the spine, complete transection, and they surgically pin them back together again. Half of them go about their daily lives, the other half are subject to PEMF. And those animals are walking on all fours, somewhat gingerly, but still have function in their hindquarters, and the others, every one of the controls, just dragging their hindquarters. So when they sacrificed those animals, they actually found the nerve fiber connected nerve fiber that went through what they called, the scar tissue, and actually reconnected. And, the first one was 1976, and it's just, what's that, 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
They've slept on that.
We have a question coming in, which I think is a good part to go into this. She's asking, actually, I don't know if it's a she. I think it is. I'm getting it sent to me. Can this be used on people who have had stent surgery? I'm assuming because the material in the stent may be metal.
Yeah, no problem with metal parts at all, actually. Whether you've got pins or rods. I've never had a client, of course, we don't sell the device for medical purposes, right? Broad performance enhancement. It will enhance your performance, whatever it happens to be that you're doing your experimentation with, but I've never had a complaint with people that have metal parts.
Right, so it's for enhancing your body's performance, but it will not harm things like medical implants and what have you. What about pacemakers?
We suggest keep the thing 13 inches away. You get 13 inches away, you're not picking up.
Yeah, okay. Because we're not talking like this thing is some kind of a magnet that's going to fly to the ceiling. I mean, it's not that powerful. It's a comfortable power.
Well, if you take a little metal object and hold it to the core, if you're at a half an inch, you can't even feel it. You've got to get to a quarter of an inch, or maybe it's a third if you're very sensitive, and you'll feel it start to pull on that metal object. And the fact that it actually works to a 13 or 14 or 16-inch mattress just never ceases to amaze me.
Well, and that's where these questions are coming in there. So this pulsing is really a massaging, if you will, in the magnetic spectrum and this stuff, which then stimulates your body to repair, grow. You sleep deeper, therefore you repair better, that type of thing.
Yeah, that type of thing, and we're pretty sure that the device is creating a source of alternative cellular energy, something that the cells can actually absorb and utilize, non-ATP-derived energy. We're pretty sure that that's what's going on because we've got some, pretty interesting results coming back from some of the world-class athletes over the last couple of years in terms of stamina and strength. And these guys are at the top of their game, looking for a little bit of extra help. And, all of a sudden, people are setting personal records at, very older, 10 years older than they were when they set their personal records. So, I like to say that the thing seems like it drops a decade or two off your biological age, at least how you feel.
Oop, I went to hit the cough button and I turned it on. Actually, we're going to take a break in a couple of minutes, and we come back out. I got a couple of testimonies that I recorded earlier to make it convenient for the people rather than having them wait. And I've already just started a little bit what I was talking about how this unit, surprisingly, was very relaxing. And it's not intrusive at all, which means it's natural. It's like the effect I've gotten from certain herbs at the right time. And we can get into questions from people. The phone lines are open if you want to call in with a question, or you can type them. We're getting some coming in. And you can go to the website and learn all of this stuff. You can see it and read it, and read. There's doctors involved. There's people who are training. The people who are at all areas of physical action are coming on board with this. So there's a lot of people using it for various ways of training and repair. But hold on there, Paul. We're going to come back after this break and continue talking live with Paul Becker from Earthpulse. It is earthpulsetechnologies.com. The History of Telecommunication, Chapter 1, The Drum.
Luckily, we now have iVisit.
Yes, iVisit is a complete audio, video, text communication software that works over the web.
Just go to www.ivisit.com and download the free software. Register for your free password. Plug in your webcam and take a quantum leap ahead in communication.
iVisit, the last chapter in telecommunication. Hi, this is James Athayanchik, the Black Knight of Talk Radio. And when you think of voiceovers, you normally think of commercials, right? Well, let me ask you something. Does your company voicemail sound like this?
Hello. Welcome to TechCom High-Speed Circuit Design. Press 1 for sales.
Now, do you want that to be the high-tech first impression to a caller? Now, how about this? Hello, you've reached TechCom, an innovator in high-speed circuit design. How may we route your call? While Inventive Voice does create, script, record, and produce fine, top-notch, broadcast-quality commercials, think out of the box. Let us impress your clients with creatively conceived and professionally produced audio for any occasion. In-house commercials for retail stores, for example. How about fast-paced promotional audio played in elevators, restrooms, and other short-term but often visited areas? Visit our website at www.invisiblevoiceover.com. Drop us an email or give us a call at 888-863-2722 and let us create memorability for you.
Make sure you stay tuned, because you're listening to Feet to the Fire.
$70 million Americans suffer from sleep deficit. I'm James Athayanchik, the Black Knight of Talk Radio, and I'd like to tell you about Earthpulse magnetic field supplementation. While using the Earthpulse device, I found that I drifted off to sleep faster, I slept deeper, and I woke up more refreshed, and it does much, much more. Call them right now at 888-211-7888, or check out their website at www.earthpulse.net. But wait, there's more. When you buy a new digitally programmed Earthpulse version 4 magnetic supplementation device and use the special Feet to the Fire coupon code F2F, you'll receive an instant $50 savings. No rebates to get lost in the mail. Just $50 more in your pocket on your way to better health. 888-211-7888, or check out their website at earthpulse.net and use the special Feet to the Fire coupon code F2F. Earthpulse. Deeper, more restful sleep or your money back.
This is Jeff from the band Silvercord, and you're listening to Feet to the Fire. Check out Silvercord at www.silverproject.com.
Speaking of that binaural, that's Jeff from Silvercord Project. They use that in their recordings, and I actually used it for healing things we did here for a while. Welcome back, Paul. This is Paul Becker from Earthpulse Technologies. Now, you there, Paul?
Yes, I am.
All right, questions are coming in on, some people have went to the website and noticed they were looking at the price and so forth, and I was typing in there, and I figured, you know what, we should talk about this on the air. There are devices that do things that are many times more expensive, thousands and thousands of dollars, that you know, if you're looking to spend $10 for this machine, well, it's not going to cost you $10, but if you want real serious stuff, the competitors are way higher up.
Yeah, that's true. You know, there's, I'm not going to name any names, but all of the digital devices that are available, I mean, you may find an exception to this rule, but they generally start at $1,500 and they go up to $3,000 and $15,000 for some of the clinical stuff. But, you know, when you look at what they're doing, I mean, they're certainly on the right track, but a lot of the choices that they give the consumer is well outside of the range of frequencies that we're talking about, you know, in the first segment. And that basically is cut off at 15 hertz. You go above that, and according to dozens and dozens of animal studies, you're going to start producing stress, not relieving it. And that's one of the things that, you know, there's a doctor named Pollock, P-A-W-L-U-K, Pollock, and he wrote a really nice paper on the effects of PEMF on stress and stress hormones and the cascading effect of stress hormones and how PEMF acts not only to induce stress response, but also as a prophylactic to tissue death in, you know, prior to surgical procedures. He wrote literally the book on Eastern European post-electromagnetic field therapy with a partner of his, a research partner. And so he's, you know, he found me, and he's been a user of the Earthpulse for quite some time. And if you find his website, drpollock.com, you'll see that, interestingly enough, my device is not available on his website. So, but he'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. He's got some medical boards coming up, so I think he's pretty wrapped up for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, we're going to getting my device on his site. But he's been a user for quite some time and really believes in the energizing effects, particularly energizing the brain tissue.
Now, it's very simple. The people who have used it, and in fact, I got to keep my eye on the button here, clock, so I don't miss this. People who have used it have reported results. I mean, they're not going in there and using this device and reporting results and continue to use it because it doesn't work. I mean, these are people who have found these things. This is real responses, even if all the very, very details of the cellular level details aren't clear of how it works, and even though we just have a big picture of it, perhaps, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Sure.
I mean, I give a very liberal 90-day return policy. And my return rate for refunds is below 10%. The old analog, the one you've been using for 2 years prior to the new digital, the return rate on that was somewhere around 17-18%. So this new device is quite a bit more effective, you know, for whatever it is that you apply it for, because we don't sell it for particular healing purposes, right?
In fact, let's take one of these examples here, and I will play it, and you can listen along. As I did this recording the other day, give these people a little break. This is Betty Casaro. I almost said Caruso.
Yeah, I know.
Betty Casaro, who's talking about how she uses it. All right, we have Betty Casaro on the phone. She is a Earthpulse user, and I want to get her impressions of before, after, during using the Earthpulse device. Betty, are you there?
I sure am.
Yes, welcome to Feet to the Fire. I also am a Earthpulse user, and I have the various things it's helped me on, but what has it done for you?
Oh, cool. I'm glad to hear you're using it. Well, a friend of mine suggested it, and I had reservations about it. However, I wanted some help, and at first I started to use it for longer periods of sleep. But I think what it really helped me with was when I had a knee problem, and I had it diagnosed as torn medial cartilage. And I also had an MRI done, which confirmed the diagnosis. And then I talked with Paul, and Paul made some good suggestions. Well, he made suggestions, and I followed them. And I'm not getting the surgery that was recommended, and I have no pain in my knee.
Ah.
So if you think I'm not excited about that.
Yeah. Any way to avoid the knife. You said you used it for sleep. What was the before and after? You slept
All
ill?
right. The sleep problem was helped enormously. I was sleeping, let's say, 2-3 hours a night, and that was really unsatisfactory. And then I got to this period with the magnet where I was sleeping 5 and 6 hours. Beautiful sleep. It was nice.
And then when you used it on your leg, in essence, it repaired the damage, or it helped your body repair it? I mean, that's the apparent result, right?
Well, how did it? What transpired under the skin? I don't know, because all I know is how I walk. Before I couldn't walk. I had to put a brace on my knee, and as I said, I had it diagnosed. And years ago, I had torn medial cartilage, so I know what's going on. So when it happened again, and I went in and had it diagnosed, I said, okay. But I'm not into hospitals. I'm not into, even though it was surgery in and out one day, I just didn't want to do it. So I resorted to the magnet, and hey, I'm fine.
Now, when you use it, it doesn't hurt, or it's not like hard to use or heavy or.
No. I used an ace bandage and wrapped it around my over the area that was painful, that was causing me to walk in a jerky kind of fashion. If I didn't have the support on, I couldn't walk fluidly. I couldn't go up and down stairs fluidly. Okay?
And so, like, afterwards, though, when you put it on, you had to use it for, 5, 6, 7 hours at a time? You were immobile?
Yeah, all during the night.
You slept.
I slept with it.
Which means you're going to be there laying in bed anyway, so it's not like you had to spend an additional time during the day or out of your work or out of your whatever you do during the day to do this. You just simply slept with it.
Exactly. I integrated it into my sleep pattern.
All right, well, I appreciate you letting us know about this stuff. One of the best ways to let people know how these things work is to find out people using it and how it works. Because you can talk about the technology, you can talk about the theory, and all this stuff is like, okay, that's great. What happens when people use it? And you're one of the people who have used it and saved yourself a lot of grief.
I'm so happy to share that information, and I just wish that anybody listening takes the initiative and explores and uses it. It's an effective tool, and I'm happy to have it in my home. And let me share with you that pretty soon I'm going to go out on the tennis court. I'm going to have a racket in my hand, no braces on the knees, and I'm going to be having one hell of a good time on the tennis court.
That's great to hear. Well, thank you, Betty Casaro, and many more years of magnet pulsing health.
Okay. Thank you, James Jancic. Good talking to you.
Oh, there you go. I mean, she's pretty quite happy about it.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that. So, I've talked to Betty myself, but of course I wasn't part of that little interview.
Yeah.
So that was very nice. Yeah, I'll have to call her and thank her tomorrow.
My sister borrowed it. She had insomnia for a while, and this has been on for days, where she would sleep about an hour and then get up again. And I finally should have brought it over earlier, but I'm working this and that. Finally, I went over there with the analog device.
Yeah, that's not. See, now you've got a second one, so you were willing to give up the other one.
Well, actually, this is before I had the digital one. This is back. I just, I did it. And when she used it, I called her a day or two later, and she said, "Oh yeah, she slept that night." And I don't know the numbers, but she said she was quite happy about it. But the funny part, I do remember what she said, is when she woke up, all her cats were around her head, where the device was underneath the pillow. All the cats were around her.
Oh, yeah, animals love it. They gravitate right to the thing. In fact, if you've got an older pet and you've got any, mobility issues, it's awesome for pets. Just, once you return the feedback card, you get a second magnet, and then you can put that one underneath the dog's bed or the cat's bedding or wherever the cat hangs out, and they'll be on it for hours and hours. And I've got this little dog. I haven't put the video online yet, but when I started going out with my girlfriend, and Gizmo, the little 10-year-old 5-pound dog, she had that old dog eye look where you look in and it's kind of cloudy. And that dog's eyes are clear as a bell now. And she sits on the couch on top of the device probably about 6 to 8 hours a day. So she gets plenty of Earthpulse, and she's just phenomenal, a phenomenal dog. The only she just turned 12. The only 12-year-old dog I know of that runs just for the joy of running. Amazing.
Well, when you have this bathing of this magnetic pulse of these frequencies and your body feels better, that's got to have a chain reaction. And I bet you if you look up down that chain reaction, you're going to see all type of thing. And, the endocrine system, your immune system, the neurotransmitters. I mean, it just seems like if you can simply just sleep better alone, it would do it, let alone the pulsing and the other aspects of it.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's totally passive. I mean, like with Betty, she combines, and that's one of the parts in the manual about how you can, combine the sleep effects with, actually doing local application and kill two birds with one stone. So, I mean, it's very efficient in terms of, time spent, because you've got to be in bed anyway, right?
Yeah, and that's what it dawned on me when I was talking with her, that it takes hours. The more you put this on, the longer it helps. But if you can do it while you sleep, you're already sleeping. You're sleeping better, and you're having therapy at the same time. It's better than going out and having therapy during the day or missing your work or your playtime.
Right. And Becker, in his research, he found that an 8-hour cycle was the most effective cycle for healing various things and even regrowth of tissue. And so, this is like 8 hours on, 16 hours off. And, of course, we use very biologically and neurologically compatible frequencies and a pulse DC wave so that it's not flip-flopping, because a lot of those expensive devices, or several of those expensive devices, use alternating current. So you've got the frequency-specific effects, but it's AC. But the magnetic field is flip-flopping, north-south, north-south, and that's what Earthpulse tries to do, is mimic naturally occurring magnetic fields and to use those to your advantage, whether it's healing, better sleep, more energy, more stamina.
Your body will actually kind of decide almost. I mean, you'll give it the nutrient, the biomagnetic nutrient, and it does its thing.
Exactly.
Well, let's listen to Richard here before we run out of time. So we got Richard Smith. That's an easy name to know. I talked with him for a couple of minutes, and he told us how Earthpulse helped him. We're here with another Earthpulse device user, Richard Smith, and welcome to the program, Richard. And tell us what prompted you to try it, and what have you done with it, and what are your results?
Well, I get a newsletter from a Dr. David Williams, and he said that in his 20 years of writing newsletters, this is possibly the best recommendation that he's ever made. And I said, well, I have to get this. And I have a number of other devices that of electromagnetic type. But I got this one, and I talked to Paul Becker, who sold it to me, and he said, do you do any sports? And I said, yeah, I'm going to weightlift tomorrow. He said, okay, use the Earthpulse tonight, put it under your mattress, and he said, I think that tomorrow you will be 10% better in performance I said, I don't think that's possible. I've been doing the weightlifting for 3.5 years, and, to be 10% that's like a year's progress. I'm not going to make it in an overnight with Earthpulse.
It does sound a little bit wishful.
Yes, it does. But he said, no. He said, I've done this with marathon runners. He said, especially anyone where you can measure your performance. And I said, I know what it is. I've got a trainer, and he keeps track of these things. And believe it or not, I was around 10% better the next day. And Gerard, my trainer, said, I don't know what you're doing, but keep it up. And that was 5 months ago, and I'm continuing to be good. In fact, Gerard, the last session, which I had on Thursday, he said, you're costing me money, Richard. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you're going through my weight so quickly, and I'm going to have to buy a new machine. He's joking. I mean, he's a much stronger guy, but still, I'm making really great progress. One of the things that's easily measurable. Some of the other health things that are there that are, that I also notice is I've had a heart arrhythmia for like 35 years, and it's considerably better. It's,
and you just sleep with the device. I mean, there's no special time you got to spend during the day or missing anything. You simply sleep with the device, and while sleeping does something to help this move along here.
That's right. I put it under my mattress.
Now, I have it, too, when I use it. It primarily has affected for sleeping. And also for minor aches and pains I have. I twist a knee or something, it'll work it out good. So I would say I've had a good effect by it. Yours is something more measurable.
That's right. Well, if you have something, he said, runners he does well with, because he said, a marathoner, he said, he knows he does 5-minute miles, and if he suddenly goes down to 4 minutes and 50 seconds, he knows that something has changed.
All right. Well, I thank you, Richard, for spending time with us and giving us how this has actually helped you. I guess it's one thing to hear what claims are, but it's another thing to hear it from the people who actually use it. So I appreciate you spending this time.
Okay, thank you.
Well, there you go. This has kind of a feel of like an infomercial, but this is just people talking about how it works for them.
Yeah, any of your listeners that are out there that do any type of physical work, whether it's baling hay or riding a cycle or lifting weights or going to the aerobics studio, whatever it happens to be, people will see a pretty quick change in their flexibility and in their ability to move a particular amount of weight in a certain amount of time. Richard is 76 years old, or was it 72? At any rate, he's over 70, and he's been lifting weights for 3 years, and it amazes me that he's 5 months into his program with the Earthpulse, and he's still continually every week making gains. So that shatters my my belief that you peak out after about 2 months. I guess if you're younger, you're going to peak out a little bit quicker. But to go to that heart arrhythmia, the heart's a muscle just like the rest of your muscles. So if all of a sudden your peak strength goes up, I mean, it generally in a night will go up about 10%. Over the course of a week, we look at about 15%. And after about a month, you should see a jump in your peak strength by somewhere between 15 and 20%. And endurance, it sounds like I'm blowing a lot of hot air, but I'm telling you, the endurance kicks in after about 3 days, and you'll see a bump in your endurance by about 20%. And then over the course of another month or two, you'll see your endurance bump up another 20%. So, we've recently found that we raise blood oxygen levels, saturated blood oxygen, pretty quickly, like 3% in a night. So if people that have low blood oxygen, whether they've got a cardiovascular problem or not. I discovered this through some clients in Colorado that live at 6,000 feet altitude. So they run with, a little bit lower blood oxygen, saturated blood oxygen. And at altitude, this one fellow went from 94 to 97% the first night, and now he's cruising at 99% consistently. Some mornings he wakes up and it's 100. And he's asthmatic, this guy. So he's, runs a little bit low anyway. Sorry?
I didn't want to just butt in there. We have a question coming in. I thought it's a pretty good idea. Have you heard anybody using this device to try and remedy jet lag?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a small portable thing. I guess we didn't really mention that. The device is the control unit's only about two deck cards stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
It's shipped in a little shipping box with foam cut out, so it looks very legit going through the airport. I always check mine in my bag, but just because they're really twitchy these days going through the airports. But now when you get wherever you're at, I don't care if you flew to the other side of the world, and you set that thing up in your bed and you lay down, you will probably get a good night's sleep instead of, your typical scenario.
Yeah, I'm trying to hold up the box here now for the webcam so they can see it, for those who have the control panel going.
Yeah, and then, of course, the business end is about the size of a hockey puck, and that goes underneath your mattress. So wherever you happen to be, couch, truck cab.
Yeah, I actually had it tucked in between where the back and the bottom seat goes. Oh, I just dropped the box. Well, I don't have any unit in it, I just noticed that I'll go out and drive. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll leave later at night, and I have to drive, say, maybe 6 hours. 6 hours is not a bad drive. I've been driving for 25 years. But when I'm leaving at 10 o'clock, 6 hours is a long drive. Because about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Especially when you've been up all day.
Yeah, so I'll put that in there, and I'll end up driving, and I'll get to where I'm going. Here it is. It's 3 o'clock, 3:30, and I'm not struggling to stay awake. And yet I don't feel like I'm racing or nothing. Like if you were to take some type of pharmaceuticals, there's no downside to it.
Definitely not. Yeah, you're definitely not amping. You're just focused.
Well,
and the interesting thing that I find in long drives is my vision goes after 6 or 8 hours on the road. Of course, I'm not driving a commercial vehicle, so I just stay on the road and drive.
I'll watch out for you.
Yeah, right? No, but after 12 hours, I can still read a map. I can still read street signs, where normally, I'm seeing double, you know what I mean?
All right, well, we got a couple minutes left here, so I'd like to make sure you let people know where to go, how to go. We do have a coupon that you have set up for Feet to Fire listeners or watchers, or however you look at it. You can call or go to the website and purchase the item and type in Feet or F2F, the letter F, the number 2, the letter F, and receive an instant $50 rebate. Or not rebate, savings.
Right, exactly. And if you make one payment, I pay the shipping anywhere in the world. And if you want to do 2 payments, you pay the shipping.
And you can bring it into 2 payments and shipping, or if you pay it all up front, it is 1 payment. And the website is earthpulsetechnologies.com. We have, again, on the website, you can just go to Feet to Fire, you'll find a banner somewhere, and you can click on it, goes right to it. And you can also read about all the other, the technical people who have used it, doctors and what have you. There's more people who have put together, people with Parkinson's disease have reported that they feel better and have better body structure results and all that stuff.
Yeah, when you stimulate the tissues, that device doesn't care if it's, bone, cartilage, ligament, nerve, endocrine, brain. It stimulates those tissues, gives them more cellular energy to utilize for their cellular functions and neurotransmission, and just the entire system, in a broad sense, enhances its performance, whether it's physical, whether it's psychological. You get a lot of people that deal with stress, and they're stressed out and skipped out, and it's very grounding. And, people with neurological disorders as well, as you mentioned with Parkinson's. I've got quite a following of people that have Parkinson's, and it certainly improves their quality of life. And if not, you send it back and I refund your money.
Let's see. I got a question coming in here, and we're running out of time. Of course, now the questions come in. Can you use this for a short nap, like 4 or 5 hours, or do you need a certain minimum time?
No, absolutely. It's great for power naps.
You can actually set the time of your nap. If you want to sleep for 3 hours, for example, you can set it for 3 hours, and it cycles down to sleep and then brings you back up at the end of those 3 hours.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, and I'm gonna. You want to say something more here while I read this? It's kind of long. I got to see if I can pull a question out of this.
Well, if you go to the website, there's a video section. I don't keep up with that as much as I should, but there's some tremendous videos in there. There's some case studies on Parkinsonism and
here it is.
Various things.
Let me sleep apnea. Well, does this any kind of results for sleep apnea?
Nah, I got to tell you that sleep apnea. This is what it will do for people with sleep apnea. During those periods of time that you're asleep, you will get deeper sleep. But when you've got obstructive sleep apnea, your air pipe's gonna clog, and you're gonna wake up and gasp for breath. So, as a rule, generally, I say no, it's not gonna help the sleep apnea, but it will help you to be not so wiped out from it.
Right, your sleep will be higher quality, but what's waking, it'd be like if Earthpulse wouldn't stop if your spouse turns over and knocks you in the head. It's not going to stop you from waking up at that point. But when you get back to sleep, and it will also help your head heal. All right, so it's earthpulsetechnologies.com is the website. They can send you email, right, if they have any specific questions.
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Email, phone, either or. And the PEMF research section, you go in there, and there's some guidelines on the left-hand side. One of them is which is a really good paper to read, is Human Waves and Human Psychobiology. And then the NASA study is in there, and then there's I've got broken up a bunch of research into various areas, and stroke and fibromyalgia are something that they're just starting to research, in the peer-reviewed journals. And, we know already that those are two areas where PEMF will work very effectively.
All right, Paul, we got to go. I thank you for coming by and talking to us, and we will have these banners up. And remember that F2F coupon will save you $50, and we'll talk to you again as things go on. And good luck, and thanks for your product.
Thanks for the opportunity, James. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Paul Becker, EarthPulseTechnologies.com. We go right to the horse's mouth when we talk to this stuff. .com. EarthPulseTechnologies.com.